Friends, hello everyone. Today in the video we will analyze specific signs by which you can identify a fickle and unreliable woman, the kind you actually see in the world every day. Some people were unlucky enough to build relationships with such a woman, and let's be honest, they didn't end tragically. Let's approach the most important and interesting part gradually. I want to start with what a person's personality is in general. For example, I define it as a set of dynamic inclinations. The majority of our inclinations are determined by life experience, meaning the more extensive the experience, the greater the chance that it will become part of a person's personality. I won't complicate it. Simply put, someone who smoked for years and then quit doesn't actually get rid of the full habit of tobacco. An internet addict who interrupted their comfortable degradation for a week or two doesn't get rid of the desire to fill the emptiness inside. If a woman goes to clubs and regularly spends evenings in bars, this speaks to her inclinations, and in a relationship with such a girl, on one side of the scale will be you, on the other, her little weaknesses, let's call them that. If in the beginning you will outweigh them, simply because you are something new in her life, then the further it goes, the fewer guarantees there are. At the start of your communication, everything can appear outwardly proper and decent. Suppose you sparked interest in a girl who is used to going to bars, and to your question, "Do you plan to continue drinking alcohol at parties?" She will say with full confidence that of course not, or, "We will have fun together, darling." However, even a person with little experience knows how relationships develop where you agreed. We'll drink together there, we'll go to nightclubs together, and if someone else catches our eye, let's immediately admit it. These are just words said in the heat of emotion. When the fire of passion cools down a bit, these agreements are torn apart in no time. The same mechanism works with inclinations toward infidelity. If a girl has such a predisposition that increases the likelihood of cheating, it is forever. The danger of waking up with horns on your head will exist even in the first months of the relationship, not after 17 years of marriage. A banal example, a party girl, for whom regularly coming home in the morning from a drunken party is a way to live fun. Perhaps she has experience with various substances, and if a girl was able to cross such barriers for easy pleasure, then cheating on her boyfriend will become another interesting quest for her, because staying faithful is a restriction that lies between her and her wants. Yes, she is already used to bypassing moral boundaries when letting loose in a club, so she will easily find justification for her desire to jump on some Vaggia. We humans are very skilled at negotiating with ourselves when it comes to indulging our weaknesses. However, if at the acquaintance stage you ask a woman about infidelity, anyone will definitely tell you that she is faithful. It sounds something like, "What? I could never betray, cheat? If I love, it's for real, it's disgusting to me. I'm not some kind of slut." Something like that. We won't go into exceptions where a lady immediately dumps her unflattering information on us, admits that she is capable of it, can go for it, and that we don't really consider such ones. Look, I recommend not just watching this video to the end and making abstract conclusions. I advise watching it twice, possibly 3 times, or taking notes, because the behavioral markers that I am about to voice, that you are about to hear, one day may save your life. Both men and women cheat, but female infidelity is fatal for relationships most often. Of course, the consequences don't come instantly, because there are almost no stories where a woman after the act of infidelity suddenly came to her senses and fell at her man's feet. Why? Because going left means the lady has stopped perceiving the man as the only one, because female infidelity is always emotional, meaning the new partner. He is, one can say, a new beloved. You can put an equal sign. Therefore, infidelity always comes bundled, so to speak, with the desire to leave for new relationships. Even if the woman didn't leave for the first Vaggia, she will leave for the second, and he will appear in 6 months or a year, or she will even want to create a love triangle. A lady who doesn't know how to be loyal to a man will never be able to become a faithful wife. And over all the time of practice, I have studied, well, thousands of stories in which a woman cheated there, left for another. There were love triangles and squares, hexagons, and experience allowed me to identify typical signs of a fickle woman. The presence of at least one point from the list that I am about to voice. This is a reason to doubt the decency of the woman. Let's start with the obvious and banal, appearance. If she wears short shorts, skirts, deep cleavage, or in other ways visually provokes surrounding men. This is bad. If you think that she doesn't feel, doesn't understand what she is doing, you are mistaken. She perfectly feels it. She wants to be devoured with eyes. Yes, she can, of course, justify it to you or to herself that I'm doing this for myself. Well, why do you need this nonsense on your ears? With revealing outfits, a woman emphasizes readiness for acquaintance with new candidates and competes with other women. A pathological lover of short skirts does this regardless of the presence or absence of a man nearby, because the influx of fresh exhibits into her menagerie is more important to her than stable relationships. Well said, and the appetizingness of such ladies often goes off the scale, and men still get deceived, trying to remake these problematic chicks. Buddy, if you think that you can break someone, love her, marry her, and she will suddenly become good, you are naive. At the moment of your first weakness, she will find a new suitor. The same applies to revealing and provocative format photos on social networks. Remember one rule. A woman who demonstrates her beauty lives for increasing the number, and the most important thing in her head is her own beauty, juiciness, demand. She will never sacrifice this, so in fact, in the long term, she is doomed to be unhappy, and the man next to her will be unhappy twice as much. And the higher a woman's opinion of herself, the easier it is for her to cross this moral line, and also easier to justify herself and to portray you, buddy, as guilty. As I said earlier, for such a girl, cheating is just an interesting adventure. To avoid going left, only two main elements are needed: a suitable candidate and convenient circumstances. The next sign is a stormy youth. If a girl started relationships with men early, it means that initially there are no, so to speak, internal frames in her. If there were several such men, then you can generally forget about these frames altogether. And at the time of your meeting, such a woman still has a bubbling personal life. There was one guy. After just a few months or two, a third one already approached. She broke up with all of them. Sex remained with her in these relationships. Well, there was nothing serious. We draw a conclusion. For her, being with a man is just entertainment. Also, a good woman takes life as a couple seriously, so she voluntarily keeps distance from other men there, colleagues, acquaintances from a common company, or even a neighbor. About exes, I generally keep silent. They shouldn't be around at all. One suitable for home doesn't let strangers closer than arm's length, doesn't give advances, and doesn't start deer-round dances. And if already at the beginning of the relationship someone else sent her flowers, and some men write to her all day, she spends time with guy friends. Well, you've kind of fallen into a mousetrap, and soon Santa Barbara will start. That is, from banal triangles to this multidimensional trigonometry, or whatever it's properly called. Okay, the next point is extreme women. That is, this lady who cannot live without emotional drive, no matter from what source she pumps emotional broth. That is, it can be extreme sports, fast driving in a car or motorcycle, constant travels, hitchhiking, jumping from a bridge. For such a girl, relationships are another ride with ups and downs. An extreme seeker sees in infidelity and quarrels a source, so to speak, of drive. Yes, and for the sake of such drive, she is ready to put even her life on a thin edge. One can formulate it that way. Another category of women is those who drink regularly, every Friday or every weekend, regularly visit bars, clubs. These ladies don't know what they actually want in life, and therefore devote all their free time to amusements. They close the emptiness inside with constant fantasies in which they try to feel like heroines of saccharine movies. If in the process of communication you understand that she has no clear guidelines, pay attention to this, and perhaps it's already worth ending the communication, because if there are no such guidelines, she is carried, so to speak, wherever the wind blows, which means you can expect anything, and calm stages of life with such ones are, like temporary lulls, after which inclinations will take over. That is, after a year or two it will happen anyway. Naturally, it is unacceptable to consider women who had affairs where they were in the status of a mistress. The inclination to be a mistress doesn't come from nowhere. From this, she squeezes emotions again. You must understand this. If such pleasure is acceptable for a woman, then the chance of a lover appearing already with you is very, very high. There are situations where a girl was deceived and learned about the presence of a wife after starting a relationship with a guy, But here her behavior after discovering the problem is important. That is, a decent girl would immediately end these, so to speak, interactions. If it didn't stop her, well, the conclusions, so to speak, suggest themselves. Further, if a woman behaves provocatively, swears, is rude to someone, she loves to be in the center of attention and often uses toxic methods for this. Communication with such ones is like, a street fight. If she feels the opportunity to gain an advantageous position, she will use any trick. You must be prepared for this. In relationships, this pours out into scandals and squabbles, and since such girls habitually consider everyone bad except themselves, one day she will take revenge on you through Vajja. At the beginning of relationships, such girls love to pour dirt on their exes, and one day you may end up on that list, and to the next guest she will already tell what a bad goat you were. Also, a bright marker is lying, brazen lying. If at least once you look into her eyes, she tried to deceive you, dodge, keep silent about something, she will do this all her life. There are no trifles in this matter, and in the Bible there is an interesting phrase, unfaithful in little, unfaithful also in much. That is, any liar justifies their actions. One can, when it comes to the last. Even if such a girl is caught cheating, she will definitely come up with a story where her lover is a colleague at work. He just gave her a ride home, and they went to him for accounting reports, abrasions on the knees, from the fact that the skin is delicate, and she rests them on the work desk. Well, okay, come up with the rest yourself. How to forget such a thing? It's obvious. Look at her friends and the topics of their conversations. If it's a set, so to speak, of such glamorous chicks, and their meetings are gossip, trips to spas, hookah lounges, clubs, trips to Turkey, well, turn around and run. Nothing good will come of it. Such representatives of the female sex can have all the previously listed signs combined. The next point is the absence of bodily shame. That is, the absence of reflexive embarrassment when naked without clothes. This should be alarming. Even children after a certain age reflexively cover the corresponding places, although no one told them anything about it. Closer to 5 to 6 years, they already try to hide their nudity. Therefore, if after the first intimacy the girl does not try to cover herself, here you should already think, how many times has she been with a new man in the same situation that nothing embarrasses her anymore? Men with great experience can confirm in the comments. Ladies who cover themselves after the first episodes of intimacy turn out to be more decent, and on the contrary, girls who are able to walk around the house in Eve's costume when you've known each other for just a couple of days, experienced in everything, including, probably, experience in coming up with excuses for their own infidelity. Well, yeah, if such a one comes across on the path of life, there's no need to argue with her or blame her for something. On the contrary, I recommend showing pure childish curiosity and observation. That is, with such uninhibited girls you can communicate to observe their reasoning and draw conclusions for yourself. That is, a wise man through this dialogue will better understand reliable women by the answers. And trying to look for an enemy in girls, well, this is still some kind of limitation, in my opinion. The main idea of this video, in the long-term perspective of family life, the probability of a woman's infidelity depends not only on you, and even not primarily on you. You can be rich, unrealistically cool, handsome, and even behave maximally effectively. This may one day turn out to be useless if the moral ethical settings allow the woman to cheat. It will happen. Understanding this should not scare us. It should make us carefully analyze the chosen one and responsibly approach the process of choosing a life partner. The mindset and behavior of a woman suitable for relationships should broadcast respect for the man, striving for harmony. If a lady, on the contrary, constantly stresses you or deprives you of peace and comfort, well, stop. Think about yourself. But of course, it's very easy to just watch the video. Agree. However, in real life a man, when meeting such a firecracker girl, behaves completely differently, especially when an effective madam is interested in getting closer. When she is interested, she can seem much better than she is, and you will really want to believe her. Not even that. You don't want to believe her, but to deceive yourself. Honestly say, did you not know everything that I told in the video? Well, if you didn't know, then feel that way. Let's look at your past relationships. Why before this video did you live differently? Choose someone? That is, we all know how to live. with whom to live, what is right, what is wrong. Only we live not accordingly. We ourselves do not correspond to our convictions. Now I will say a scary thing that needs to be thought about. Any promiscuous woman, even one who is into escort, does not consider herself bad. She sincerely believes that she is capable of being faithful and devoted. This is an example of how skilled a person is at deceiving themselves. It's more pleasant for girls to believe in their own lie than to admit an inconvenient truth, so she fools herself and you along with it. She does this perfectly, because when saliva flows, consciousness shifts lower than the back, and you yourself are glad to be deceived. Over thousands of consultations, I understood that the problem is not in a man detecting a problematic one. These typical signs of unfaithful girls, they are visible to everyone who wants to see them. The trouble is that men don't want to see them. That's the problem. That it is with such women that they want to be together. To get a chance at healthy relationships, it is necessary to stop following one's weaknesses. For this, you need to learn a simple and tough principle. If something bothers you in a woman's behavior in the first 6 months of communication, say, be ready to immediately end these relationships forever. That is, any discomfort at the initial stage. This is 100% problematic in the future. If you want problematic games, stay where you are, but please don't call it words love, relationships. Yes, this is not a feeling. This is some kind of gambling game in which all participants sooner or later lose. Thank you very much, friends, for watching. I hope you heard something important for yourself.